World's largest collection of Nikes.
The holy grail. So give me a minute while I meditate.
I consider it the holy grail of Mark Twain collecting.
That's a big wow factor right there. This is the holy grail.
I've been trying to convince the guys that I can find them some killer deals. So I found something that could make Rick a whole bunch of money. This place is amazing.
World's largest collection of Nikes.
It looks like a temple to me. So give me a minute while I meditate.
So what all do you have here?
Well, it's the world's largest collection of Nikes. You've got 40 years of Nike running, all in chronological order. Where Nike running ends, Nike basketball begins. So you got 5 aisles of basketball.
There's just so many damn shoes.
You'll never find another collection like this anywhere.
I can appreciate a few good pairs of shoes, but this is insane.
What is that?
That's the dunk corner.
Holy sneakers. Bam, there it was. The holy grail. This thing was freaking amazing.
So what's so special about these, Chum?
I mean, you got the What the Dunks, you got the Supreme collection, you got the Huffs, you got the Diamond Tiffany Blues. Everything's here. Can't believe it.
So what exactly is a dunk?
In 1986, Nike made the Dunk. It was a basketball shoe. But since then, the Dunk has become an iconic skateboarding shoe. And behind me are about 50 pairs of the rarest Nike skateboarding shoes that have ever come out.
Okay, what's your most expensive pair of dunks here?
This pair right here is worth about $5,000.
Whoa. I think Chum set up a real possible deal here. I know enough to know that people will pay insane money for some Nikes, but I need to take a step back and work the math. I mean, what's your rock bottom price on them?
I want $1 million.
What I'm looking at here is something that's going to take me 2 years to sell a ball. I'm going to have someone working for me for 2 years that I got to pay a salary to sell all this stuff. I mean, I'll give you 300 grand for it.
No way.
I mean, that's cash, you walk away, you don't have to deal with nothing.
No way, not even close. I'll come down to 9.
Rick, don't let the deal of a lifetime slip out of your hands. Rick is a tough negotiator, but I can't let him pass this one up. This is a gold mine for him, and not to mention a pretty big payday for me.
How long did it take you to buy them all?
13 years. You'll never see another collection like this in the world.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll go $500,000. I won't go anymore because literally it's gonna cost me at least $100,000 just to sell it all.
$500,000 is $250 a shoe. I've got shoes in here that were $5 grand. I'll come down to 8. That's my rock bottom price.
I'll tell you what, I go $550.
I can't do it. It's just too low.
It was nice meeting you, man.
Rick.
It's nice meeting you, too.
Rick!
I really appreciate you letting me see everything, but come on, Chum, we gotta go. This ain't gonna happen.
You want to sell anything individually?
Thanks for coming by. Nah.
Thanks for showing me.
Come on, Chum.
You're really, really missing out. Rick, you know what? I still think it's worth a chance. Really sucks we didn't make that deal. Rick would have made some serious money, and I would have got my 2%. And having those shoes in the shop would be unbelievable.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you doing today?
Good. I brought you in a very rare book.
You have a book. You know what? My boss is right here. Hold on a quick second. Hey, Rick, do you have a second to look at a book?
Sure.
Today was actually kind of weird. I was just looking at a book with Rick, and another one came in. It was just perfect timing.
The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Classic of American literature. This is actually the Salesman sample for Tom Sawyer.
Okay, that is definitely cool.
I consider it the holy grail of Mark Twain collecting.
All right, there you go.
I'm prepared for tough negotiation. I've been here a few times. They always have their eye on the profit.
Okay, so what do you want for it?
Well, I would like to get $10,000 out of it.
What do you think?
What do I think? Let's see. This is a really rare Mark Twain Salesman's prospectus. Salesman's copies were thrown out after they had served their use. That being said, it's also quite beat up, and it's still not a first edition Tom Sawyer. With all of those things in mind, the value that I would place on it retail is probably between $9,000 and $10,000.
Okay. I'm thinking $5,000. I have to resell it. I have to make money.
I mean, I tried to find out, and the Library of Congress doesn't even have a copy of the Salesman sample. It's that rare.
He's right that this is a more rare Salesman sample of Twain than other works by him.
Yeah, honestly, $5,000 is just too little for me to go. I mean, I want you to make a profit. I honestly didn't think 10,000 was unreasonable. I'll tell you what, at the end of Tom Sawyer, he finds gold. You know how much gold he finds?
$5,000 worth.
$6,000. Finds $6,000 worth of gold. That's really the least I could take. And I think it gives you...
I'll go 55. It's a fair price. You know it's a fair price.
I actually think 6,000 is cheap.
It was a little awkward to sit there during the negotiation. You want to put in your 2 cents, but it's not really your business.
I really want to stick to 6.
I'll go $5,500.
6,000, you will have a line of Twain collectors at your door, I promise you.
Once you start getting over like $1,000, $2,000, the amount of people in this world that have the money to buy it and are willing to buy it dramatically falls off a cliff.
Mm-hmm. It's honestly hard to give this one up for that. It's a very special book. How about, like, you know, Tom Sawyer, he swears on a blood oath. I'll do a blood oath at $5,500.
$5,500. It's a deal. I'll meet you right over there, and I'll have someone write you up.
$5,500 was honestly low. I think he's going to make a profit. On the flip side, I think Mark Twain would be smiling to know that I got $5,500 for a book that was likely going to be thrown out in the 1800s.
What do you have here?
I've got a handwritten letter from George Washington himself.
Where did you get this?
So I found it at an estate sale in Richmond, Virginia. Bought a nice decorative mirror. Get to the house, go to put the mirror up, and the cloth that covered the back of it ripped open, and taped underneath, down at the very bottom, was that guy right there.
This is really interesting.
From what I've researched online, it looks almost exactly like other documents that George has written, so I feel like it is the real one.
George Washington really was that great guy you read in history. I mean, he was the richest man in the United States. He risked everything for the revolution. Because if they lost a revolution, it's not like they would have slapped him on the wrist. They would have hung him. As far as U.S. historical figures, nothing's bigger than George Washington, period. Without him, our country would look nothing like it does today. So if we have an undiscovered handwritten letter by George Washington, I'm holding the Holy Grail. This is really cool. It says October 21, 94, which I'm assuming is 1794.
Yes.
It reads, Sir, being about to return to the seat of government, I cannot take my departure without conveying through you to the army under your command. So he's writing to a general, which have led them so carefully to quit their families and homes and comforts to perform a long and fatiguing march. This is about the military marching in 94. This has to be about the Whiskey Rebellion. You ever hear of the Whiskey Rebellion?
No. What
Okay.
is the Whiskey Rebellion?
Right after the revolution, we were really in debt, so the federal government was trying to come up with a way to collect taxes. So everyone sort of came together and says, let's tax whiskey. So there was farmers in Pennsylvania, and they didn't want to pay the taxes. It just basically came down to George Washington getting 13,000 troops, started marching towards Pennsylvania.
So this was all about whiskey?
When you get a bit pissed off, you're in a bar and someone came up, give me $50 so you can't drink that whiskey?
Yeah, they had every right to rise up.
And how much you want for it?
About $3,500.
Something like this that deals with a historic event, we're probably talking a lot more. My best guess at the moment is if this letter is all legit, it should be worth at least $100,000.
Wow.
I'm just not buying the fact that a handwritten letter from George Washington was just found in the back of a mirror.
People spend a lot of money faking things that are worth this kind of money. So I'm gonna call someone up, I'm gonna get him down here, I'm gonna get him to look at this.
Okay. Just the thought of leaving here today with a big sack of cash, it gives you a lot of anxiety, but it makes you excited too.
With this much cash on the line, I need to be 100% sure. Ed Stewart is my go-to guy on historical documents.
I was really excited when you called me over because this is actually pretty important in American history. But this is one of the first times that George Washington really used the power of the federal government. People were uprising in western Pennsylvania, didn't want to pay taxes, tarring and feathering the tax collectors, which may still be a famous American pastime these days.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
All right, what questions can I answer for you, Rick?
Okay. Is it really signed by George Washington? And how much is the damn thing worth?
Okay. In the pantheon of American presidential autographs, there's 3 at the top: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln. About 10 years ago, there were a couple George Washington letters that dealt with the Whiskey Rebellion that sold for about $120,000, $130,000 at auction. It would probably be higher now. There are a few things I use to authenticate these types of documents. So first, I'm looking for period paper. They used what's called laid paper back then. So there should be parallel lines about 1 inch apart if you hold it up to the light. See those lines that run down? So that definitely is period paper. That's a good sign for you. The next thing I want to check is to make sure this is in George Washington's handwriting. So I brought in an example here. Let's look at a commonly used word like the. So we can find a word the there and a the there. And if we start looking at the overall feel of it, the letter formation, completely different. So unfortunately, this is not in George Washington's handwriting. One thing this could possibly be is the body of the letter is in Washington's secretary's handwriting, and Washington signed the letter.
All right.
Let's come over here and look at the George Washington side by side. Here, he signs G.E.O. Washington, where in life, he usually signed G.O. Washington. You can see that it's very different than the way it's written over here. Yeah, so I don't think this is in George Washington's handwriting or signed by George Washington at all.
Ah, that sucks.
You have a really nice napkin.
However, I do believe it is old and antique. This is called a contemporary copy. It probably is 220 years old. If somebody wanted to keep a record of the original, they would make a copy for themselves. This probably has a retail value of about $4,000.
Nice.
So you're telling me that a copy is actually worth $4,000?
Right. Copies can be worth money. And this one has really terrific content. This would be about as good a contemporary copy as you can get.
All right, well, thanks for busting his
Anytime.
bubble.
All right, nice to see you again. When I came over to the shop, I knew that the original George Washington letter was in the Library of Congress. However, sometimes famous people make more than one copy of famous letters, and I thought perhaps this would be one of them. For example, Abraham Lincoln actually wrote out 5 different copies of the Gettysburg Address in his lifetime.
I don't mean to beat you up, but I'll give you $1,000 for it.
I feel like that's leaving $3,000 for you to just snatch up the next time somebody comes along to buy it. Let's go 2,000. I'll be out the door right now with $2 grand.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1,500. That's the best I can go. Look around my shop, you'll find all kinds of things from the 1700s.
$1,500, you got a deal.
All right. Write them up, Corey.
All right, man, come with me.
$1,500 is a lot of money. To be able to walk away with just that today, I'm pretty satisfied. Feels good.
So what do we got here?
1963, American-made Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, to me, this is the guitar.
But there's something very, very special about this specific guitar.
All right.
This guitar was actually played by Jimi Hendrix.
That's a big wow factor right there.
What I'm bringing to the table today is not only a piece of rock and roll history, but it's very well preserved.
Okay, you mind if I pick it up?
No, absolutely, by all means.
All right. This is the Holy Grail.
He actually held this guitar that you now have in your hands and made wonderful music with it.
Is there any pictures of him playing it on stage or anything, or?
No, because it was exclusively played in the studio. This was his really favorite sort of recording acts.
I'm gonna set this down. How much do you want for the guitar?
I think this guitar, you know, from everyone I've talked to, I'd be willing to take, say, $750,000 for it.
I have a friend who, if this thing is real, he will know. And if not, he'll call bull.
Bring it. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, man. I have nothing to hide. Let's turn the lights on real bright. This is an authentic Jimi Hendrix guitar. I'm happy to challenge anybody that he wants to bring to the table to look at it, because he'll authenticate the guitar.
This is stupid cool. I mean, one of Jimmy's guitars. Hendrix turned the guitar into an extension of his body. Every way he moved was altering the sound of the guitar. When you see him dip down real low, he's bending physically bending the guitar.
Right.
There's very few guys that can make their own statement with the guitar anymore. But guys come along like Jimi Hendrix and just take it to a completely new place.
I want to make sure this is 100% before we start talking a lot of money.
Yeah, you mind if I take a look at it?
No, man, by all means, that's why you're
Awesome.
here.
There's a couple of things you'd want to look at. The tremolo bar. These are usually bent and angled up. He played the guitar upside down. He flattened a lot of these out, made them straight. So they probably weren't ramming into his arm and stuff like that. Another thing is what they call ring wear. If you're playing the guitar like this, my wedding ring hits the guitar, removes a lot of the paint, finish from there. If you look at this guitar, the top side of the neck has a lot of that wear. That's from the guitar being this way. How Jimmy would have played it. Left-handed. The article that you guys have sitting over there, they asked a bunch of vintage dealers to take a look at this guitar with photos and stuff like that. The serial number here, L14985. This guitar has actually been documented. No doubt, this is definitely one of Jimmy's guitars.
That's really, really cool. In my head, I think I know what it's worth, but what do you think?
Anywhere from $750 to good auction, million.
On a personal level, I absolutely love it, but you have to find the right auction. It has to be advertised in the least amount of time would be a year, most likely.
Right.
Let me give you $450,000.
450? Man.
My thing is, I take all the risk, you walk away with the cash.
For a guitar that could fetch maybe $1 million on any day, your own guy just told you that?
Okay, but what we
come on, 450 grand? Yeah, I'm thinking 750, man.
A lot of commissions and a lot of people got to get paid to sell this thing. Okay,
Right.
it's just it's the way the world works.
Right. Okay.
I'll give you $500,000.
This guitar's worth more than that. It just is.
If you want the money now, I can go $550.
Knowing that it could potentially fetch $1 million at an auction, I can't leave that much money on the table. $750, really, man. That's a bottom dollar I can take for the guitar.
All right, well, have a nice day. Tell me if it goes to auction. I might bid on it.
Okay. Thanks, man. Well.
$6.
I can't do it, man. But I'll call you if I change my mind.
Call me.
Okay?
All right, man.
He's fired one last bullet across the boat there with the $600,000 offer, you know? Honestly, I was starting to kind of get a little bit more tempted by that. But if you want to come to a fair point in selling something of great value, don't be desperate about it. And that I am not.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. What we got here?
This is an old Civil War pistol, a Clark and Sherrard.
Clark and Sherrard. That is,
Yes,
it might be the rarest Civil War gun there is. You just walked in here with Jimmy Hoffa. You know how rare these are. There's like just a handful of these in the world.
Absolutely.
I'm like in awe of this thing right now, but they're so rare I have my doubts. You understand why? It's just,
I can
you
see where
basically
you're
just
coming.
walked in here with the Holy Grail. So, how much you want for this thing?
There's been several of them. There's one that sold for at a big auction house, and it went for like 60, 70,000, something like that. And I'd be happy with 40,000.
You've literally walked in here and told me, you know, when you go to France to the Louvre and you see the Mona Lisa, well, that one's fake. I got the real one right here.
I got the real one.
So I'm gonna go make a phone call, get someone down here. I'm not even beginning to figure out if this thing's real or fake. I just don't know enough about it. So let me call a friend who will know something about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
These are so rare, saying it's like the Mona Lisa is not an understatement. I've never seen one outside a museum, so I've never actually touched one. Can I touch it?
Absolutely.
Wow. There's 11 known to exist. 4 have this etching, this design. The last one came to market that was etched, and it was almost $80,000.
Okay.
The serial numbers of the etched ones were in the hundreds and 200 range. This is in the range of the known etched guns, which is really good. The problem is, from the ones that I know that exist and the ones I've been able to research, the serial number font does not match this. It doesn't mean that the gun is fake. It does mean that the serial numbers are.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Very knowledgeable.
It could be legitimate, but the serial numbers have been tampered with. And once that happens, you're not going to spend $80,000. Most collectors won't spend anything because they're too afraid to lose their investment.
I love stuff like this. I love crazy, weird history. But we're 99% sure someone's tampered with that serial number. It's going to be too difficult for me to sell. I mean, when someone walks in my shop, I give a guarantee on every single thing I sell, and I can't do it on this. Good luck, dude. That's all I can tell you.
My pleasure.
The guy came in with 2 G.I. Joe playsets from the 1980s. These things are monstrous. There's just no other way to describe them. I don't know if they're worth money. Luckily, Johnny's a nerd, and he'll figure it out for me.
Wow.
Hey, man, what's up?
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm Marty.
Hey, guys, nice to meet you. We got the Defiant and the FLAGG. Sweet, man.
All right, so tell me about these things.
The 80s was a fascinating time to grow up. I mean, the cartoons had toy lines. You had G.I. Joe, you had Transformers. I mean, you're watching it on Saturday morning cartoons, and then these toys were on the shelves when you went to any store across the country. You know, they were amazing. I mean, all the play sets, the vehicles, they were about 1/18 scale, so each figure fit in all of the carriers and tanks. To begin with, the FLAGG and the Defiant are very expensive toys at the time. Not very many people got them, and not very many people saved them. I mean, these were 2 of, like, the largest toys produced in the 80s, and these are definitely the holy grail when it comes to the G.I. Joe line.
He wants $1,500 for these things.
Well, looking at the condition of the boxes, I mean, definitely a win-win on the condition of those. The big part of the value is how complete it is. There's always the little parts missing.
Okay. How are we gonna know if every piece is here?
I'm definitely have to open them and put them together, for sure. You're gonna have to.
You want to play with them, don't you?
You're gonna have to let me do that, man.
So, how much are they worth if they're all here? Because he says everything's here.
Well, if everything's here, you could easily see in the $4,000 to $5,000 range for the pair.
Wow. Right on.
I mean, to any G.I. Joe collector, I mean, this is at the top of the list.
Okay. So you still want $1,500 for him?
I mean, you brought your guy in, and he's telling me it's worth $5,000 now. I mean,
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $2,500 for him.
can we do 38?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $3,000 if they're all here. That's the most I'll do.
All right, that's the deal.
All right. So if you guys can put them together and all the pieces are there, we got a deal. All right?
Thank you.
All right, I'll be back in a little bit, man.
Cool, man.
Which one do you want to start with?
Let's go at it with the Defiant first.
I'm a little nervous about not having all the pieces there. I'm just hoping that I was a good boy and did what my mom told me and put my stuff back the way that I found it. This thing is really cool, though. And it's actually comes all the way up.
Isn't that awesome?
You guys look like you're enjoying yourselves.
You know, man. This is what I do every day, man. Play with toys.
Great job. Thank God I never bought these for my kids.
Dude, I mean, this is days and days of fun. I mean, you were everybody's best friend if you got any one of these toys. I mean, these are classic. Back then, I mean, these toys are massive. I mean, they'll never build toys like these again. I mean, the quality of them, I mean, the thought that went into it. I mean, the blueprints were so cool for these vehicles. I mean, you had to build them. You had these huge blueprints. I mean, you felt like you're a part of, like, the G.I. Joe Army, you know what I mean?
Well, the question, is it all here?
Well, overall, figures are here, instructions are here, and Luckily, all the pieces are complete.
Yes.
All right, cool, man. So we got 3,000 bucks. You got 3,000 bucks. I got this.
Glad it was a GI Go and not a GI No.
You can take this apart.
All right, no problem. I got you, man.
Let me give you some money, man.
Cool. I'm absolutely blown away, and I'm stoked. I'm really excited. Now I get the plane ticket to London and a little side money. Maybe I'll go first class.
The guy came in with an old 78 RPM record of the song Stormy Weather, performed by the Five Sharps. I've never heard of it. So if anyone would know anything about this, it would be Warwick.
Hello, how are you doing today? What do you got?
And he says this is like the rarest of the rare records.
He's right. This is the holy grail of doo-wop 78s. Stormy Weather's a great track, isn't it? Lena Horne made it her signature tune in the 40s. And then here we got a doo-wop version of it in the 50s. In actual fact, if you've ever heard it, it's terrible. Yeah. It's awful. This is famous just for being a rare record. It's not famous for being a good record.
Okay.
Doo-wop music, it's really a forerunner of rock and roll. It's primarily comes out of the suburban areas of New York, Queens, Brooklyn, where guys would get together on street corners and just practice vocal music. The infamy of this record comes from a doo-wop record store in Times Square. Somebody brought this record in to show the owner of the record store he wanted to play it on his radio show, so he took it home. Somewhere on the way home, it got broken. The guy's pet raccoon sat on it. And then he put an ad saying, well, I'll replace it for the guy. And then they discovered how rare it was. They couldn't ever come up with a replacement. So from that point on in the record collecting community, there was always this myth and this reward for this one record. The raccoon story is really part of what makes this so notorious. But how can we prove that the raccoon made that break?
I'm not really sure how you're going to answer that, but I do know that this record was supposedly the one that was that record.
I can't add in any value for the raccoon. It all goes to condition.
So what do you think it's worth?
This record could have gone for upwards of $20,000. I would only pay $20,000 for the most beautiful copy. This one, it's cracked. That's a major thing to me. But I don't think you could easily get more than $3,000 or $4,000 for it.
Okay.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure always. I think if the guy could prove that that the raccoon sat on this very record, it would be worth the money.
I would give you $1,000 for it.
It's funny you should say that, though, because I've already gotten offers 4 times the amount he offered.
Good luck with it. And also remember, offers are one thing, cash is another.
Understood.
Good luck with it, man.
Thank you. Be well. He's entitled to his opinion, but for that amount of money, I would just keep it and hang it on my wall.